You! Do you think you're a... The big guy with the crew cut suddenly looked at Jacob, who was being held back by Kathy. Kathy stared at the guy in a shock and realized they were here to get Jacob in trouble. She racked her brain for an idea and suddenly remembered that the guy who was threatening them was a fourth-year student and the vice captain of the university's basketball team. He was also one of Michael's good friends. "Are you here to mess with Jacob?" As Kathy continued to think, Sam noticed this too and asked the guys directly. Although the guys in the mechatronics engineering department were not always friendly, they stuck together when their classmate was in trouble. They always teased Jacob, but they would never allow anyone to bully him. "Sam, they are here for me," said Jacob. Kathy's grip on his arm slackened a bit, and Jacob escaped her grasp and strode over. He didn't want Sam and his classmates to get hurt because of him. Since the bullies had come for him, he had no reasons to hide. The big guy had planned to intimidate Jacob and didn't expect the ordinary-looking boy to have the guts to face him. The speech he had prepared for this face-off was now useless. He stared at Jacob blankly, trying to find a way out. At his silence, Jacob walked up to him and said, "If you think we are younger than you and would be good targets for bullying, you are mistaken. As seniors, you have nothing to be proud of. Michael does excel in some areas, but he's too full of himself. He was overconfident, and that is why he lost to me." "You are indeed arrogant," the guy looked down at Jacob and said. Jacob shook his head and sighed. "I'm not trying to pick a fight. You don't like me, just like how I don't like you. However, I didn't randomly mess with you, but you think you can mess with us just because you are seniors. There's no use reasoning with them. They messed with us. Let's fight them," Sam shouted from the side. He had never liked guys who preyed on the weak. He especially hated this group, as they had repeatedly taken the basketball court away from him and his friends in the past. Suddenly, a basketball flew in from the outside. The ball swept over Sam's head and smashed into the big guy's face. As strong as he was, he couldn't withstand the sneak attack and got smacked right in the face. His nose was now bleeding. "Who told you to come out? Go back to the gym now!" A thundering roar of a man exploded from the entrance. Everyone turned around in shock to see who the person was. They saw a huge figure block the entire doorway. Kathy immediately knew who he was, and the first thought in her mind was, "Oh my God, that's my brother." She immediately looked around to check if anyone noticed her change of expression. She didn't want them to know that they were related. The tall guy didn't show any signs of fury on his face. Instead, he shivered at the voice and looked very obedient. Likewise, the other members of the basketball team all looked nervous. With their heads lowered, they filed out of the restaurant silently. Each of them was slapped on the back of the head by the man waiting at the door. He struck the first guy with greater force and sent him stumbling for several steps. However, the guy didn't dare to retaliate. Looking at the magnificent man with a brawny body standing at the door, Jacob and his friends couldn't help but wonder about him. They began thinking about the strength he had and how commanding he was. "Get your back to training!" With another roar, the mysterious man escorted the basketball team to the university, giving the people in the restaurant a sigh of relief. The staff silently thanked the tall specimen of a man for saving the restaurant furniture and crockery from being ruthlessly demolished by silly teenagers. "He must be the captain of the basketball team. Only he can keep those guys in control," said one of the guys who was familiar with the situation at school. From the start to the end of the incident, Jacob had never gotten a glimpse of the captain's face. This man was taller and broader than the door of the restaurant. He could see why the other guys were intimidated by him. Okay, let's get back to our dinner." Jacob cleared his head and called out to the others. Kathy understood his efforts and joined in, trying to get everyone in a good mood again. However, their spirits were dampened by the interruption. No one was in a mood to party anymore. "Your victory over Michael disgraced him," said Kathy. "His friends will probably try to get you into trouble. Be careful, but you don't have to worry. At the most, they will just do something to make you uncomfortable. They won't do anything outrageous." Jacob listened to her silently and answered after a minute. "I'm not worried. It's not the first time seniors have bullied juniors in college. They took basketball courts from Sam and his friends several times, and he had been wanting to get some of his buddies to fight them," said Jacob. Kathy sighed. "You'd better not fight, or you will get punished." She thought about talking to her older brother about talking to the guys on the basketball team. However, she knew it would be of little use since it couldn't stop the bullying. It was normal for seniors to trouble their juniors. Besides, Michael was the son of the deputy mayor of the city. He had set up the popular rock climbing club and was close to the other sports clubs in the uni. He was especially close with the players on the basketball team, who were the unrivaled tough guys in school. The basketball team of their university was well known all over the country, and it was last year's champion of the National College League, bringing the trophy home. That was why the college treasured them despite their terrible academic performances. They triumphed over all the other students in strength, and more importantly, they had the school behind their backs as long as they didn't do something too unacceptable. Due to his close relationship with them, Michael felt free to do whatever he wanted. Jacob humiliated him by winning the race, and he would definitely try to get revenge. Kathy was a bit concerned about this. While Kathy was troubled with all these concerns, Jacob was thinking about something else. He wasn't too concerned about Michael's retaliation, even though he was the son of the deputy mayor. What concerned him was the deep resentment between the popular students and the regular students, especially the juniors. There were many incidents of bullying on campus. If the situation continued, a huge fight would break out sooner or later. If a fight broke out, no one would come out as the winner, especially the weaker ones like Sam. Jacob knew Sam had been contacting his buddies and was prepared to fight with seniors from the rock climbing club and the basketball team if they kept up the bullying. And with Jacob being threatened like this would motivate them even more. Jacob wondered if it was time for him to dig out the visiting card he had been holding on to and have a chat with the vice president of the university. He wanted to save his friends from getting beaten up, or worse, rusticated. The party ended in low spirits. Sam returned to the dorm in a bad mood. If Jacob didn't persuade him, he would have gathered his gang to go after the bullies tonight. "Jacob, if they dare to bully you again, give me a call," Sam patted his chest and said. Jacob smiled and replied, "I will be fine. They were just bluffing. They won't do anything serious." In this dorm, Sam always acted like the big brother. Sam had many friends from all circles, so he felt like he should look after his roommates. He had always kept them under his wing and would be ready to defend them at any point. However, he would never have guessed that Jacob had the college vice president behind him. In fact, in the Dragon tribe, Elder Liam had to respect Jacob. Even without the vice president behind him, Jacob wasn't afraid of Michael. He had always kept a low profile because he didn't like to attract attention to himself, but he wasn't scared by trouble or tolerated injustice of any kind. The next day, everything returned to normal at college, while some people still talked about what happened the day before. In class, Jacob immersed himself in preparing for high school English practice questions. He took his job as Sophie's tutor very seriously. Knowing Jacob was tutoring her in the evening, the guys left him alone. Jacob put the $500 prize money into the shared fund box of the dorm room. It would be used for Room 302's future activities and outings. He and his roommates had set up this fund so they are never short on money whenever they made any spontaneous plans. This generous donation by Jacob was really appreciated by the others. Jacob felt that he did his best in the race because Kathy encouraged him to enter his name and wanted to repay Kathy for it. She had been nothing but kind to him and was the only one who believed in him. He didn't know how he was going to repay her, but he was set on finding a way. The sky turned dark in the evening. Jacob rode the bus and arrived at Sophie's house right on time. For some reason, after having eaten food cooked by Sophie's mother, Jacob's mouth would water each time he was on his way to her house. Since yesterday was Monday and he didn't come to tutor Sophie, he was suddenly struck by a longing for the delicious food cooked by Helen. He was now craving them all the more as he stood at the door. With papers in hand, Jacob rang the doorbell. Suddenly, thunder resonated in the sky, and a storm came instantly. A downpour commenced. Standing at the door, Jacob was half soaked in the blink of an eye. "Well, hurry in." Hearing the doorbell ring, Helen hurried over to answer it. Seeing Jacob getting soaked in the rain, she ushered him in immediately. With another string of thunder, lightning flashed across the sky outside the windows. Soon enough, the whole city was engulfed in the rain, and nothing was visible under the dark sky. Jacob put down his papers while he shook his head to get rid of the water in his hair. Helen handed him a white towel and said in a gentle tone, "You can stay here tonight. Today, Elder Frank is responsible for the rainfall, and it should last the entire night."
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.